It's time. I promised you I would make a second stream, and I did. It's time. It's time for the Gay Fox game.
Already? Okay, let me grab my keys.
And it's just getting good. I stop fucking with that wire, or I'm gonna end up sounding like a robot again. Right, I'm good. Good, should be ready. We're ready to go. Yesterday's events, both the good and bad, linger in my mind while I perform my usual routine of tossing and turning in bed before I get up. Now that the shock's worn off, I feel a little bit better about what happened. I wonder if I'll have forgotten. About the other Gumiho by the end of the day. In fact, now that I think about it, I suppose I've met other Gumiho before. I just forgot about them. Everyone forgets about me, so maybe it works in reverse too. Rather than dwell on the idea, I choose to ignore it. There's no way to know. I'll just drive myself crazy wondering. Instead, I keep myself busy by making myself more presentable for work. Heading to the bathroom, I clean myself up using the soaps and shampoos given to me by Juliet. She's helped me so much ever since I started working here. Looking into the mirror for one final check before I head downstairs for breakfast, I can't help but think what the other Gimiho said, how I've domesticated myself. My spotless face looks back at me, framed by fluffy and pampered hair. I can't deny that I've let myself be spoiled by others, content to just go along for the ride.
Snap out of it, Miho.
I lightly pat my face, like I've seen Aspen do sometimes when she's getting ready to start her own job. I'm not sure what it's supposed to accomplish, but it makes me feel a lot more confident. Head downstairs, I'm treated to the familiar scent of fresh cut fruit and frying eggs, as well as the pleasant sound of Aspen and Juliet chatting about books. When I enter the kitchen, I'm greeted by two smiles.
Morning, Miho. Good morning.
Good morning. Breakfast will be ready soon.
Cool.
I slide into my usual spot at the table and grab some apple slices, munching on those while waiting for the other two to get back to their conversation. Instead, both of them look at me expectantly.
So, how'd it go? The museum? Of course. What else?
Was everything all right? When I didn't hear from you last night, I was fearing the worst.
Oh, nah. It was fine. They even had what I was looking for. There were some more scrolls by my person.
With a loud clatter as Aspen drops her fork in surprise, even Juliet's eyes go wide with genuine shock.
There were?
Are you sure it was them? Yep, definitely. I'd recognize that style anywhere. I learned a lot about them. Their name is Chongyin, and they're a scholar. I don't know what they study though. The museum person didn't say.
For a long moment, there's silence. Other than the sound of eggs sizzling in the pan, both my friends just stare at me dumbstruck.
What are those looks for?
You seem awfully calm. I assumed you must not have found anything, or you'd have been back immediately.
Yeah, well, there was some other stuff that happened too. I'll tell you about it some other time.
It's tempting to tell them about the Gumiho. It's only because I know they'd reassure me about everything she said, but that's why I can't tell them. Not yet. In a way, I'd just be proving her right.
Well, alright.
We'll be here whenever you need us.
Thanks. Is breakfast ready?
Yes, just now. Here you go.
Juliet fills our plates and takes her seat, and we all dig in. It's a quieter meal than usual, with only the sounds of chewing and silverware scraping against the dishes. I feel like Aspen and Juliet are having a conversation in the silence. Of course, they'd expect more from me. I'd expect more from me too. And right after leaving the museum, I was that excited. I'm still excited, of course. It's just been tempered a little. I still plan to ask Aspen and Juliet to help me get in touch with Zhongyan. But I want to wait until I can do it with a clear head. Once everyone's finished eating, I gather up the dirty dishes and take them to the sink, while Juliet washes the pans and Aspen wipes down the tables. Another morning routine.
I'll see you two later. Thanks for breakfast.
My pleasure, as always.
Bye!
With that, Aspen politely takes her leave and heads out the door. Juliet and I go into the library, ready to start the day. Or end it, in her case. I head to my spot behind the front desk and begin getting everything ready. The checkout sheets, my pens and pencils, my study materials, and so on.
Are you all set, Miho?
Yep, I've got everything I need.
Wonderful. Well, I'll leave you to it then. Have a good day.
You too. Sleep well.
From the way Juliet lingers... Hold on. Yeah, I'm back. From the way Juliet lingers halfway between me and the stairs, I can tell she wants to say or ask something else. She thinks better of it, simply giving me a smell before heading off to her room. I whistle while I throw open the curtains and unlock the door. By the time I've returned to the counter and ready for the first patron to arrive, I even manage a light melody. I've been practicing my whistling a lot, as a way to spend time well alone. Aspen tried to show me how, but she's not very good at it either. I'm pretty sure I'm already better than she is. The sound of it reminds me of birds back in my home forest. Before long, patrons start to arrive, and I soon have a list of things to do. Books to check in and out, books to return, books to search for. It keeps me good and busy. The hours pass by in blissful normalness. I don't have a single thing to complain about. Ooh, okay. Right, I've got my afternoon. Right, this doesn't seem anyone to visit. I should go to the Bell House and see if Aspen's there. I'm feeling a bit lethargic, so maybe have a warm tea and a long, peaceful sit. I can always count on Bell House for it, for its cozy atmosphere after all. I buy my drink and find my favourite seat and settle down. And then I watch a kid across the cafe knock his midnight double chocolate swirl drink on the ground and immediately start crying. So much for the atmosphere. I think I'll sit outside today. It's a rainy Thursday morning, and the library is as dead as I've ever seen it. Even Aspen didn't come by this morning, simply because she didn't want to get soaked. We'll see each other later instead. The only patrons here are the ones who don't mind the weather, so I have to make sure they don't drip. So I have to make sure they don't drip on any of the books. Before she went to bed for the day, Juliet left a bundle of towels near the door for anyone who needs one. At least it makes it my work easy, and the slow day means I have extra time to study. I'm able to remember most of the letters by now, and even read a few words. I haven't told Juliet or Aspen about my progress because I want to surprise them with it later. After an hour or so, I sit aside my pencil and gaze out the window, with my chin resting on my palm.
Huh. It stopped.
Rain is known to do that, Miho. It's still cloudy outside, but the worst of the rain seems to be over. I get up and walk over to the window and look around at the soggy view. I leap backward in surprise as something suddenly splats against the glass in front of me.
Whoa!
The fuck's that? It first looks like a puddle of water that stuck to the window, but then it starts to wiggle. I stare in confusion as a pitiful looking face forms in the middle and then frowns at me. Suddenly it hits me what I'm looking at. This must be a water elemental. I've never seen one for myself before now. They usually hang out in rivers or lakes, but I've heard they sometimes come out into dry land when it's raining. That must be what this one did. Now it stopped raining though.
Oh no, you could dry up.
Just like a fire elemental can die if its flame goes out, a water elemental like this could be in trouble if it doesn't stay wet. The weather might still be damp, but the sun is starting to poke through the clouds.
Okay, wait right there. I'll go find something.
I don't even know if it can understand me, even see me at all, but I wave at the window and hold up one finger to try and show that I'll be right back. With a quick peek to make sure there's no patrons waiting, I hurry to the kitchen and dig through the cabinets, hoping to find a pot or something that's big enough. The biggest one Juliet has is the one she uses to make pasta, and even that might be too small. Also, I'm not sure she'd want to taste the water elemental to be every time she tries to make spaghetti.
Where else?
I could just wake up Juliet and ask her, but I should really try to solve this myself before bothering her. Instead, I start hunting through the other rooms to find something that might help. There's nothing in the bathroom nor in the library area. When I check in the dining room a second time, however, I notice a big bowl on top of the shelf that I haven't seen before.
Perfect.
I have to stand on one of the chairs to reach it, but I grab the bowl and fill it half full of tap water before hurrying back to the window. The elemental is still stuck there with a very sad bumper, sticker. It already looks a little smaller, but it ripples with excitement when it sees me, its frown shifting into a watery smile. I head out the front door and skip around to the water, squelching through the wet grass as I go.
Here you go. Come on.
Holding the bowl to the window, I gently brush the elemental in. To my surprise, it doesn't feel like touching regular water. It's thicker and a bit sticky, like jelly. The elemental starts to slide into the bowl in bubbles, which I hope is a good sign. It doesn't mix with the water in the bowl, but instead kind of hovers with the water both above and below it. When it gets itself fully into the bowl, it almost fills it up. The water sloshes over the edge and into my hand, leaving the bowl almost dry except for the elemental itself. The bubbles stop and an uncertain looking face peers at me from the bottom.
Alright. Let's get you inside and figure something else out.
I hold the bowl as steady as I can and try not to spill any more as we go back into the library. Just like the guests at the library, I have to make sure not to get any books wet. There's an empty side table near one of the reading chairs, so I sit the bowl down there. The elemental seems fine for now, but it looks worried again. It reminds me a lot of Aspen.
I'm not sure what else to try.
I rack my brain, trying to think of something I might have missed in the bathroom or kitchen.
Wait! That bathroom! That's it!
Kneeling down in front of the bowl, I try to reassure the elemental, which is doing its best to stay absolutely still and not slosh.
Okay, don't go anywhere. If you even can.
Running to the bathroom, I plug up the bath and set the faucet to max.
This ought to work for a bit.
Leaving the water running, I go back and retrieve the bowled elemental. This time, I end up spilling more of the water, but luckily it only hits the ground. The tub is about half full by the time we get back, which should be perfect. I turn off the faucet and carefully pour the elemental in.
How's that?
There's a stream of excited bubbles.
Cool. Sit tight, and I'll find something we can use to get you back to the river.
More bubbles. Quickly, but not as big as a rush as before, I go to resume my search on the second floor. Because this place is so big, there's still a few rooms I've never seen. I'm pretty sure Juliet wouldn't mind me going in since I'm trying to help someone out. The first room that I try is a closet, filled with towels and bed sheets and laundry stuff. The room after that is locked.
That's weird.
She's definitely got some dark secret in there. Try the knob again in case it was just stuck.
Nope, definitely locked.
I know what's in there. I never paid much attention to that door before, since it's so far from my room. Drop down on all fours to see under the door, but it's too narrow to see anything. Another nearby door isn't locked, and even better, isn't a closet. Aside from the doorway, which isn't particularly bright, it's pitch black. When I step inside, I flick on the light, but the bulb fizzles and dies right away. It only takes a moment for my eyes to adjust to the darkness, which had at first been dark smudges, turns out to be a bunch of boxes and a sort of junk, a storage room. The whole place is covered in dust. I guess Juliet doesn't come in here either. Peeking into one of the boxes, it's filled with old kids' toys like dolls and stuffed animals. Another one has some folded up clothes. Just as I'm about to give up and try another room, a half-covered object in the corner catches my eye. A heavy blanket is draped over a glass box, which is full of more random junk. I haul it out and remove the blanket, smelling at my find. It's a big fish tank, just like the ones I saw at the museum.
Score!
After turning it over to shake out as much of the dust and debris as I can, I triumphantly take the tank to the kitchen sink to rinse it out before hauling it to the bathroom.
Look what I found!
When I set the tank on the edge of the tub, the elemental floats up to the top of the bath and ripples. It takes some maneuvering to hold the tank under the faucet, but eventually I'm able to figure it out and fill it up. Then I use the bowl from before to scoop up the elemental and dump it into the tank.
Perfect, right?
More ripples and bubbles.
Okay, let's get you to the river.
Wrap my arms around the fish tank and lift. I nearly tear my arms off.
That's heavy.
I didn't notice when I was just getting the tank set up. With all the water in it, it weighs a ton. It's way too heavy for me to carry to the front door, much less all the way to the river.
This could be a problem.
And it seems so perfect, so lucky. Even after dumping out some of the water, I still can't carry it. Sitting down on the water tile, I sigh. The elemental floats dejectedly.
Miho? What's going on? I heard the sinks and bathtub running.
Oh, thank fuck. Juliet is standing in the doorway as I look up, wearing a look of concern on her face.
Hey! It was raining earlier, right? Well, there was this water elemental on the window. I tried to bring it inside so it wouldn't dry up while I worked out how to get it back to the river, but now I can't carry this huge fish tank that I found.
A fish tank? Where'd that come from?
It's in your house, how do you not know?
It was in one of the storage rooms, along with a bunch of kids' stuff. I'm guessing they came from the library's children's section.
Juliet purses her lips and I feel my heartbeat start to quicken, like it always does when I'm in trouble.
Sorry if you didn't want me to go in there. I didn't know what that room was or what I was even looking for until I found the tank. I didn't look inside the locked room though.
Juliet's frown deepens, but doesn't look like she's angry, more like she's sad.
No need to apologize. You've done nothing wrong. Although...
I wait for her to finish her sentence, but it doesn't happen.
Although?
Never mind. It's nothing. Let's focus on helping our friend here first.
She reaches into the tank and scoops a handful of the water before dripping it back onto the floating elemental. The creature seems to enjoy it as far as I can tell.
Any ideas?
An idea comes to mind after you mentioned that storage room. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I sit back and relax as Juliet departs. I'm glad she didn't get upset with me after all, but something was definitely bugging her. I wonder what it was. After a couple of minutes, I pick up the sound of something rolling down the stairs. I stand up and poke my head out of the door and spot Juliet pulling a red wagon behind her. It has a rope handle and is very large, but should have more than enough space for the tank.
Whoa, you're a genius!
With a smile, Juliet parks the wagon next to the bathtub.
As I said, you were the one who gave me the idea. Would you mind helping me lift it onto the wagon?
Sure.
We each take one end and carefully move the tank. Juliet also brought a number of tight straps to help keep it in place. Once it's all set up, the elemental is safe and secure. I kneel down to get my face level with the glass.
How do you like that?
This time, the elemental shifts into the biggest grin I've ever seen.
Looks like we've got a winner.
Aww.
Wonderful. If I watch the library, would you mind taking it back home? You're welcome to borrow an umbrella.
No problem. Be back soon.
Taking a towel and umbrella for myself from the front door, I lead the elemental outside and onto the path. It's cloudy out, and more grey than blue, but at least it's not raining right now. Still, I don't want to waste any time.
Is anywhere in the river okay?
The elemental bobs up and down.
I know just the place then.
The muddy path slows down the wagon a bit, but isn't too bad. When we go downhill, I have to be careful not to let it get out of control, but other than that, it's pretty easy. From the bottom of the hill, it's not too far to the spot I had in mind. I noticed a small, abandoned ramp onto the river, way back when I was still living in the woods, but it wasn't useful to me then.
Don't know why anyone built this place, but it sure worked out for me.
Kneeling near the bottom of the ramp, I wrapped the wagon's rope around my waist to keep it from rolling away, then undo the straps in the tank. With both hands, I gently tilt the tank onto its side. The water and elementals spill out, flowing down the dirty concrete and onto the river. The water begins to churn immediately, bubbling as if something huge is coming to the surface. A rushing sound echoes around the empty area before a torrent of water suddenly shoots upwards like a fountain, arcing clear over me. As I look up, I see the elementals shimmering within the water, catching the light from the sun. For one brief moment, the most beautiful, vivid rainbow I've ever seen hovers before me, so close that I could touch it. Then the water and elemental crash back into the river, and everything goes still. I smell, certain that I understand.
You're welcome.
That's adorable. Right, I don't think it matters where we spend our time. I'll go back to our den, apparently. Anymore. Let's go to the park. Or the garden, maybe? I mean, no one's at these locations, so I don't think it particularly matters. There's another lazy day at the park. Maybe I'll take a walk and... Some kind of instinct veers me over to the side. But as I do, something yellow whizzes past me and smacks me hard across the ground. What's going on? Am I under attack? I put my head towards the source of the projectile. I see a handful of people with rackets turning towards me. Was that missile part of their game? I'm so sorry. That didn't hit you, did it? No, I'm the one who's sorry. It was my bad serve that made her hit it like that. I have no idea what you're talking about, but your yellow thing went that way. You really dodged it like a pro? Yeah, I've got to say. Yes, your reflexes are amazing. You should join our club. I still have no idea what you're talking about. Enjoy your yellow thing. Bye now. Aww. That's cute. Meow was adorable. All day I've been shivering on and off. All day it's been shivering on and off. Raindrops still pattering on the roof even now. At least the frogs outside are comfortable, happily croaking away in the dark night. To stave off the cold, I keep a blanket wrapped around me while sitting up and watching TV. I don't really understand all the complicated things the presenters are talking about, but it's interesting to see the reports from all around the world. We just prick up as I hear someone walking to the door. A series of free knocks gently ringing against it. Always free from Juliet.
Yeah?
Oh, her little pajamas. Her little pajamas. Oh, it's so cute. Baby. Hold on, I must immediately gush about this. Hold on. I've gushed about it on Twitter.
I'm making some tea. Would you care to join me? I can make some hot chocolate as well.
Sure. Be right down.
A warm drink sounds nice right about now. Not wanting to leave my cozy blanket, I decide to hold it tight around myself and waddle down into the kitchen with it. The stairs prove a little difficult, but I manage. There are already two hot mugs sitting on the table when I arrive, and the kettle is already steaming. As I take my seat, Juliet pours boiling water into each cup.
You knew what I was gonna say before you even asked me, huh?
I had a feeling, yes.
She pushes my mug across the table and my hands peek out of my blanket to cradle it. Happy for the warmth, I hold the mug for a while before tasting the steamy hot chocolate inside. You make hot chocolate with water? Ugh. Milk is clearly superior. I'm not backing down on that one.
Mmm. I like the hot chocolate you make even better than the stuff at the Bell House.
Why, thank you. I'm happy to hear that. Although I imagine Aspen wouldn't be.
Do you ever go there? Now that
We haven't.
Oh shit.
Well, why don't we change that sometime then? Perhaps we can meet Aspen for breakfast there instead. It has been a while since I've stopped by.
Sure! I've never gotten any food from there. Only drinks.
You're in for a treat then. They serve delicious pastries and sandwiches. There's a particular one that I know Aspen enjoys. Although, I can't remember what it was.
That's okay. I'm sure I'll be fine with anything they have. I can't remember the last time I tried something that I didn't like.
That must come in handy when traveling the world so much, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Can't afford to be picky when you don't know the next time you'll even have options.
Have you found a favorite food? Or type of cuisine that you most enjoy?
Not really. Most of the time I just eat junk food or leftovers. Not really anything fancy.
Understandable. If there's ever a certain dish or meal that you'd like to try, it would be my pleasure to help make that happen. Perhaps we could even learn to cook it here at home, so you could have it any time.
God damn it.
Sure!
Toss that into the mental pile if there's anything that Juliet's offered me. I know she means well, but at this point I can't remember everything she said that about. Two of us continue to chat for a while, and I recount the full day's events with the elemental to Juliet, wrapping up my story at the point where I came home from the river.
Oops! That reminds me. I never put away the wagon. Let me know where it goes, and I can take it upstairs when I go back to my room.
Wagon? Oh, yes. Yes, of course.
Juliet quickly looks away, taking a sponge and busying herself cleaning some loose sugar off the counter, but it's obvious that something off. I'm not sure what to do. It's so rare that Juliet's the one who seems uncomfortable. In fact, this is the only Tim I can think of. Other than when I first met her, of course, when I sort of tried to steal that painting.
By the way, who does all that stuff belong to? The wagon and the toys, that is. Were they part of the library children's section before or something?
No, they were personal possessions, not part of the library.
Oh, don't tell me you've got some tragic backstory that's gonna make me cry.
Oh, like from when you were a kid? I'm surprised you managed to keep them for that long then.
No, not my childhood.
She definitely has a tragic backstory, god damn it.
Huh?
The sponge stops moving. Juliet's shoulders slumps as she gives up trying to work. I feel a little bad for making her act so oddly.
If you don't want to talk about it, that's totally fine. Sorry. I didn't know it was sensitive. I'm really sorry.
It's fine. You couldn't have known. Besides, perhaps it's only right that you know.
Know what?
She turns back towards me, taking a breath before continuing. Her eyes don't look at me though. They're looking past me. God damn it, she has a tragic backstory, I knew it. She swear to God if you make me cry.
Do you remember when, several weeks ago, I told you that I met someone who changed my life? Someone who made me want to be a better person?
Yeah.
Well, her name, my daughter's name, is Cosette.
I knew it, tragic backstory.
You have a daughter?
Yes, and she's been the biggest blessing in my many, many years of life. Although she's not of my own flesh and blood, she was my child. I found her on my doorstep one morning, tucked into a basket with a blanket and scarf around her. It was cold that morning, so very cold. When I opened my door and saw the silent bundle there, I feared that she was dead. but she was not. She was so very alive, and despite the cold, so very, very warm. She was barely a year old, if that. Yet she didn't cry. She could have been there all night for all I knew, but she never uttered a sound. I brought her inside, of course, just so she wouldn't freeze. Beyond that, I was panicked and confused. I'd never wanted a human child. I didn't even know how to raise one. To this day, I don't know why whoever abandoned her chose my doorstep to leave her on. Of all places. But how wonderfully, impossibly lucky I was. Because she didn't cry, I thought she might be mute. But that wasn't the case. She had a great deal to say. And as she got older, she would talk and talk. Every word was like music, a melody to my ears only. I felt so fortunate, and so unprepared. I suddenly had the life and well-being of another in my own hands. Her future, her everything. It was a responsibility I had never asked for, and likely would have never asked for if my life hadn't changed that day. She grew and grew, from a curious baby to precocious child, then to a confident young lady, and finally to a lovely woman. I couldn't have been more proud as a mother. Every graduation, every breakup, every smile and tear changed my life. As my daughter, of course it would be true to say that I raised her, but it was mutual. She also made me into the person I am today.
Once Juliet finished speaking, I let her a breath I didn't remember holding. Just as when she first started speaking, her gaze is still fixed on the empty wall somewhere above my head. Just like when Aspen gets sucked into one of her books, I can tell that Juliet's mind is elsewhere entirely.
The moment that I resolved to raise her, I made a promise to myself and to her. A promise that I would do all in my power to make the world Cosette lived in, grew up in, a better one that I had experienced. That I would show her how to find the beauty and the joy in all things dark and terrible. In a sense, I ceased to exist as a single person. My life was no longer my own. It was tied, forever and always, to another.
So, all those toys and things.
Yes, the treasures and mementos of another life. Of happy days filled with laughter, of scraped knees and tummy aches, of heartbreak and homecomings. I keep them there as not simply a reminder, but a tribute to those times.
Wow. I would have never guessed any of that. I never knew you were a mom.
Juliet's a MILF, confirmed, I fucking knew it. Her gaze returns to me, to the world we were in now. She gives a small smile, but it looks fragile.
Well, I suppose it's not something I speak of very often.
Does she live here in Wellington? Could I meet her?
I swear to God, if she's dead, Juliet regards me with a strange look, similar to earlier with the elemental. It's not that she looks angry, but like she's thinking about something very hard. I stare back, not sure what else to do, or what I may have said wrong. Like always, her expression soon softens.
She is in Wellington, yes. A bit of a walk, but not too far. You can go in the morning if you'd like. It's been a little while since I have.
I swear to God.
Sure, fine by me. I guess it is getting kind of late for a visit, huh?
It is indeed. Speaking of which, I actually have some business I must tend to myself. Will you be alright on your own, Miho?
Oh, yeah, of course. Don't worry about me.
Have a good night then. See you in the morning.
I swear to God, if she's dead,
See you.
I'm very upset.
I'll be ready to go first thing.
As Juliet leaves, I watch her go. It might just be me, but it seemed like she left in a hurry after saying all that. Maybe she and Cosette had an argument about something, or maybe she just didn't want to meet the other people in her life. I'm probably just imagining it. The way she talks about Cosette is so different to the way I've heard Juliet talk about anything or anyone else. I can tell she cares a lot about her. Hopefully I'll make more sense tomorrow after I get to meet her. When I finally decide to head up to my room, I take the wagon back first, as promised. I have to pick it up and carry it to get up the stairs, but eventually unfortunately it's not that heavy, even for my blanket bunched up inside. Once I get to the second floor, I put it down and drag it the rest of the way to the storage room. After pushing the wagon into the empty spot, I take a proper look around, now that I know what this room actually contains. More than just toys, I spot racks of clothes and stacks of books and all kinds of other belongings. The whole room is pretty packed. Slowly making my way back to the door, I eventually maneuver between a rocking horse and a dollhouse, taking care not to step on anything or knock it over. Taking one last peek around before I head to my room, I get the feeling there's something missing from Cosette's childhood in here. I can't say for sure what it is, but it certainly seems like Juliet hasn't let anything go. Alright, I shall be back in just a moment, because I think we've finally reached that point where I'm invested. So I'll be back in a sec. God, I keep doing that. Muscle memory. Alright, I'm back. Let's continue. The morning air is fresh and crisp. The plants around us looking healthier for the drink last night. A handful of small puddles here and there are all that remain of yesterday's rain, likely to be completely dried up within a few hours. As I stand up in the front door of the library, Juliet walks beside me and unfolds her parasol, bringing it over her head.
Shall we depart? It's about a 30-minute walk from here, so perhaps we'll take a ride back once we're done.
Yep. Will you be okay in the sun with that?
Yes. It's still early enough that I don't need to worry too much.
Lead on then.
Stepping out into the brilliant morning, I stretch and roll my shoulders. It's a nice day, not too cold and not too hot. As always, Juliet's steps are measured, and even as Juliet's steps are even and measured as she walks. Her parasol bobs with each step, making it look like she's wearing a big hat from this angle. I smile to myself at the image as I skip along beside her. Even with protection from the sun, it's rare to see Juliet out in the daytime.
So, I was wondering something.
Hmm?
If your daughter lives so close, then why doesn't she come to visit more often? I've been here for a couple months now.
Couple months? How many time skips are we going through? Although she clearly heard me, Juliet doesn't answer. Maybe it's too personal a question. Things are tense between them. I've never seen Juliet not answer one of my questions before, so I don't push it. Juliet remains quiet as we keep walking. That isn't unusual for her, but I still feel a little awkward.
Sorry if I shouldn't have asked that.
No, it's alright. You'll see when we get there, though.
Oh god, she's totally dead, isn't she?
Okay.
We head in the direction that I haven't explored before. We're in the same area as the garden, but not quite the same spot. A massive green hill watches over us from one side, while trees blanket the other. After crossing a small bridge that runs over the highway, we reach another beautiful area. The concrete path we walk along is lined with bushes and flowers, and the occasional decorative lamps. There are a few houses peeking through the trees which ring the area, but most of the field is still covered in nature.
Whoa. Are we getting close?
Yes, we're very nearly there. This is Bolton Street Park.
She's pretty lucky to live in a place like this, huh?
Even as a child, Cosette had an affinity for the woods and trees.
I get that. I'll bet she would love to be able to turn into a bat or a fox.
I'm taken off guard by Juliet letting out a great laugh. I don't think I've ever seen her like this. A little giggle, or rarely a chuckle from her from time to time. Sure, but never anything so relaxed and sincere. A grin spreads on my face just from watching her.
Yes, I think you're right about that.
Hey Peony, what's up? It has just been revealed that Juliet is a MILF. So you know, we're thriving. As I'm pretty sure her daughter is dead, and I swear to god if she is, I will be very upset. There are only a handful of houses around the park, so I wonder which is Cosette's. Time and time again we walk on past the turns which lead to any of them. Just as I start to wonder where we're going, Juliet slowly comes to a stop. Hey yo? Madar. I love that for you. I don't know if we've posted it. But I'll check later. Send a layer, kill. The main path forks into two here. The one on our left is a well-trodden dirt path. There's a sign, but I can't quite read the writing yet.
Everything okay? We're not lost, are we?
Heavens, no.
A number of tall trees shape the path that we're going on, giving enough protection for Juliet to slide her parasol shut. She takes a deep, silent breath, then smiles and gestures down the offshoot before us.
It's right this way. Just a little further.
Nodding, I follow her again, as she leads us onwards. Right away I notice that something is a little off. Juliet's steps are slower and a bit more uneven, like she doesn't want to get to where we're going. After a few minutes of walking in silence, she takes one last turn off from the path we're on and leads me up a small hill dotted with trees. Once we reach the crest, Juliet comes to a stop. Still confused, I step up beside her.
Here we are.
Regardless, this is the graveyard.
Huh? I don't see... Oh.
Fuck you! Fuck you! Fuck you! I fucking knew it! I fucking knew it! God damn it! Fuck you! Of course. Ugh. No! I knew her daughter would be dead. I didn't want it to be true. God damn it. I'm very upset. In the shade of one of the trees is a grey stone monument. Its edges are rough and worn from time, but it's spotlessly clean. There are others like it nearby, practically identical. Words are carved into the stone, too small for me to see or to read easily. I've never visited before, but I realize what this place is. I silently move the letters from the words at the top, even though I'm pretty sure I know what it's going to say. There's a C, then an O, and then an S. Cosette's grave is preserved perfectly. I'm sure Juliet wouldn't stand for anything else.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
It's okay, Miho. I'm aware you didn't know, but I wanted you to.
She turns back to the grave, gently running a hand over the curved stone.
My beautiful, precious daughter passed away years ago. Almost 2 decades by now. She lived a long, full life and spent her final moments with those she loved. The last words she told me, the last words she ever said to me.
Juliet's shoulders shake without a sound, as I stand there, helplessly. She shudders as she takes a deep breath.
Were that she couldn't have been happier.
What was she like?
She was so many things that it's almost impossible to answer. I think you would have liked her. I'm sure she would have loved you. She was adventurous and free, sometimes stubborn to a fault. Once her heart was set on something, there was no stopping her. Everything she did vividly, to the fullest. Even if the very laws of existence told her something was impossible, she would try anyway. She was endlessly kind, with compassion for every living thing, from the smallest insect to the largest, most ferocious beast. She saw the value in all of them.
She gives a small smile as she looks at me, even as tears well in her eyes. I go up to try and force down my own emotions.
You should have seen her as a child. She would talk your ear off. Both of them, if you'd let her. There wasn't a single person near us who didn't know who she was. So open and free was she. That warmth and care. It was the core of her life. If she saw someone in need, she would rush to their aid. It just naturally came to her. If you or I see someone hurting, we may choose to help. For Cosette, it wasn't a choice. It was simply who she was. To know her was to adore her. Every day that went by, I was more and more proud of her. Those virtues never faded a bit. Even on her last day, she was worried for me more than anything. I promised her that I would...
Juliet sobs, drying her hand across her face. All I can do is watch, my own emotions a storm that tosses me in all different directions. The pain in Juliet's shaky voice is enough to make my own breath tremble. But beyond that, there's something else, something eating at me that I don't want to acknowledge. I know! God damn it! Juliet turns back towards the grave, taking a couple steps closer. Unfurling her parasol, she holds it over her shoulder like a shield, guarding herself against the sunlight. She's also able to stand a little straighter.
I promised her that I would live as she did, to honor her memory with kindness and with virtue. and with compassion and patience for all, that I would ensure her legacy lived on in the many lives she had touched. It was only in the days that followed her passing, as I wandered lost and alone, that I truly began to understand how much she had saved my own life. The gift she gave me was something I'd never had before. Purpose. How very silly and irrelevant things such as wealth and prestige began to seem after that. Those were fleeting concepts, born as some misplaced need or desire. There was something that could be much greater. Something well beyond money and power. Love. As a word, it's difficult to understand. To hear the poets speak of it, there's nothing mightier and nothing softer. Love was either everything or it was nothing. It had always seemed so trite, so mature, an attempt to create meaning where there is none. And yet, I've found that the poets were right. They were so right. You and I, Miho, to be able to live on, unaffected by time's curse, must surely seem a blessing to some. But that time is meaningless without something to fill it. To those of us who walk alongside Father Time, rather than fleeing him, it's awfully lonely. When I first became a vampire, I told myself that I had no more need for humans, that I was beyond them. Now, I realize I was afraid. There's a simple contentment and joy that can only be found in experience and age, I've learned. Wisdom does not exclude humans, but to look on as once vibrant hair fades to grey, and as once strong hands soften their grips, as once treasured memories become distant, there is pain. To watch someone you love grow up is beautiful. To watch them grow old is to suffer. Cosette lived into her 80s. A good, long life for a human. Even as her flesh started to fail her, her mind never did. She was sharp as a sword and quick as a fox. For a human, there is no kinder, gentler end than that of old age. And every day, I'm thankful that Cosette was one of those lucky ones. To slip away peacefully and painlessly. As I held that soft, shaky hand for the last time, I wished desperately that I could trade places with her. I would have done anything to give her just one more day, but there was nothing to be done. Cosette passed on with no regrets, and a smile on her face. She lived as full a life as any human could live, and when she was gone, I was still there. My flesh not a day older than when I met her. It was then that I realized what a cruel gift immortality could be. What a slow, repetitive torture if I chose to let it. So for the sake of Cosette's memory, and of the promise I made, I swore that I would continue to live as I had not lived before. For virtue, for friendship, for others, for tomorrow. To die is human. To live is a privilege.
For absolute clarity, the storm inside me calms as I pass for its eye. There's a sense of finality in Juliet's words, which leaves them ringing in my ears as I stumble backwards for thinking about it. To die is human. All humans, Cosette, Sunday Aspen, but also even mine, my person. Understanding hits me like an arrow to the heart, and I barely notice the look of surprise on Juliet's face as I transform, turning tail and fleeing into the forest. My person, the one I've been searching for my entire life, is dead too. Long dead. No matter what happened after they left the forest, the nature of their human lifespan means they lived lifetimes ago, generations ago. As I run further and further away, one thought echoes above the others. All this time, all these years, all these decades, they've been for nothing. I dip my claws into the earth with every step, tearing at the roots and leaves. I do know the name for the feeling pulling and tugging at me, one that had taken over Juliet as we stood there, one I've heard of but never felt until now. Grief. Every lie, every theft, every struggle and hardship, everything. For nothing. That word slipped into my head, a dying leaf drifting towards the ground, falling and powerless to stop itself. Finally I come to a stop, not even knowing where I am or how long I've ran. I just stop when I lose the will to run anymore, transforming onto my knees. Every decision I've ever made, every place I've ever gone, had all been in service of one dream. Over time I grew to rely on it. I didn't ever have to think to myself or make a difficult decision for myself. Instead, it was like I had a path to follow, however long. But that path wasn't actually leading anywhere. All it did was take me far away and leave me on my own. Rising to my feet, I look around the area. All the trees and slopes remind me of Mount Victoria. I don't recognize it at all. Juliet's nowhere to be seen. The sprawling sunlight means she couldn't join me here even if she wanted to. Even if she found me, I wonder if she's looking. Juliet, who always seemed so calm and put together, behind that mask of hiding all these feelings. What else don't I know about her? What else has she been keeping to herself? Is it just more pain? An ice cold chill runs down my spine, making me shudder as I realize something else. She must have known, too, my person was dead. She must have figured it out right away, but she never told me. Aspen too. Suddenly every pained look or topic changed whenever I brought up Zhongyan made me make sense. They both knew, and were hiding it from me all along, this whole time letting me go on and get my hopes up without ever stopping me to tell me the truth. It was so simple too, so obvious. If I just thought about it for a bit myself, I'd have realized that humans live and die much faster than my kind do. Sighing, I sit down on the grass, wrap my arms around my knees. I mash one palm into my eyes to wipe away the tears that are there.
Stop crying, Mio.
God damn it, the baby. The baby's crying. Me too, Peony. God's sake. This game has been nothing but a fucking slice of life, chill vibes for like 7 hours, and now it's like, fuck you, gut punch time. With a few deep breaths, I managed to fight away the staying pressure, and keep myself from breaking down even more. I sigh again, once I'm certain it won't turn into a sob. Now that the initial shock is worn off, the pain in my heart has gone from a sharp stab to a dull throb. Aside from pure survival instincts, death has always been distant and faceless to me, but now I have to look it in the eye. My time with Xiongyan was short, thousands of times shorter than the time I've spent looking for them since then. Still, it was all I had. Where do I even go from here? The sun is getting higher, so Juliet must have made her way home by now. She might even be waiting for me to come back. We both know I had to at some point. It's getting hotter for me too. Shakily I rise to my feet and look around. Actually trying to get my bearings, if I have to, I can just go back in the direction I came from until I find somewhere familiar. It's like, oh, you want... Oh, you want a lovely, you want a lovely girl love game with happy vibes? You'll see us heartbreak happily and live with it. That's Studio Land's like thing, right? All their shit is so wholesome, but then they have this and then in the middle of the story, they're just like, okay, now it's drama and everyone's really sad, make you feel bad about it. God's sake. I started walking back towards the library, since it's the only place I have to go. I may think of it as home for now, but I can't help but picture Juliet's sobbing face. Immortal or not, there has to come a time someday where we don't see each other, and that will be the end of our memories together, or at least her memories of me. The same goes for Aspen, as mortal as Cosette. Aren't I just resigning myself to feeling the pain again someday? Potentially even stronger? Maybe she was right. The other Gumiho. Maybe I don't belong anywhere. By the time I get back to the library, I'm exhausted from the walk and sun. I throw open the library door and go inside, walking past my empty seat at the front desk. Juliet's nowhere to be seen. Only patrons. They've always managed just fine without me there. Pulling up to my room, I grab my blanket from my bed and wrap it around myself before I lower myself to the floor. That's when the tears hit me again, and this time I can't hold them back. Slouching onto my side, I don't even try, there's no point. As expected, in less than a minute is the sound at my door. 3 knocks, always free.
Miho? Is that you? Are you alright?
I don't respond. I don't even know if I want to see Juliet right now. She's part of this too, after all. She pauses outside for a moment, but after a few seconds, Juliet opens the door anyway.
Oh, Miho.
The pity in her voice tells me everything I need to know. I can only imagine what it must look like for her, covered in blankets and lying on the floor. I must look pathetic, childish. It must be how I always look to her.
Miho, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Juliet trails off, still just inside the door. I can see her legs and cane, but not her face. I can picture the concern on it though.
Didn't mean to what?
The words come out as a growl, surprising even myself. But I can't pretend, not now. She'll let herself in here. I can deal with it. Her cane sways from side to side as she wrings her hands, almost knocking onto the wall more than once.
Mean for you to put things together this way. Such a painful way. I wanted to.
I mean, sure it's very sad, but it's really good. We play these games for all the feels.
So you did know.
I cut her off without thinking as she confirms my suspicions. With one arm, I push myself up, letting the blankets fall away from my face as they glare daggers at Juliet.
Pardon?
You knew.
Slowly I raise to my feet. My head is pounding and I can hear my blood pumping as anger rises through me, bubbling out like liquid magma.
All this time they've been dead, and you knew, didn't you? You probably knew from the first time I told you about them, right?
She stiffens and then Juliet sighs deeply. It's all I know one ever seems to do around here.
I did. Yes.
Why? Why didn't you tell me?
Although tears are beginning to choke my voice again, I managed to shout out my question, my accusation.
I've been looking like such an idiot. I'm already an idiot compared to you and to Aspen. Every day I'm reminded of that. But this really takes the cake, doesn't it? I've been wasting my whole entire life over something everyone else can figure out right away.
Miho, it isn't like that.
Then why? Tell me why you didn't tell me sooner. Or Aspen. She knows too, right?
Juliet nods meekly. My eyes burn and my nose is running. My face hurts in every way possible.
We didn't know how.
Know how? What do you mean, know how?
I can't keep myself from shouting. I feel so stupid, so angry, and so sad.
Please, Miho, try to understand. We were still just getting to know you. You barely trusted Aspen or me. If we just told you that the person you were looking for was deceased, we didn't know how you'd take it. You might not even believe us, for one thing. Or perhaps it would give you cause to run away again. As the weeks went on, we wanted to, but it never seemed to be the right time. Neither of us wanted to be the one to, out of nowhere, bring your whole world crashing down. Not when you were trying so hard. You seemed so happy. It felt more cruel to ruin that in a way. I'm sorry, Miho. I truly am. It was wrong of me to let it go this long without saying anything, but believe me, I only hesitated out of love. Aspen and I both. We simply couldn't bring ourselves to break your heart that way.
Felt a lot of good that did. Juliet sniffles, and I have to look away. I don't want to see her cry again. Not while I'm already like this. Slipping down to the floor, I pick my blanket back up and wrap it around myself again. Even as I do, I can't help but think of how it's not really my blanket, it's Juliet's. She just lets me use it like everything else.
Go away.
To my relief, she doesn't try to argue, doesn't even say anything. She just nods and sadly leaves the room. Taking the door shuts behind me, I collapse into bed, put my fill over my own face, and succumb to my grief. God, oh my heart! God's sake, the baby, for a little baby fox girl. I wish to give her all the head pats and hugs. Emotions. Trust Studio Land would fucking punch me in the gut again. My everything hurts when I wake up. Damp pillow still covering me. My face and head hurt from crying. My body hurts from passing out in an uncomfortable position. I didn't even mean to fall asleep. I must have cried myself into it. Memories of yesterday don't give me a chance to wake up before they flood my brain, pulling a groan out of me in response. I don't want to get up. I don't want to leave my bed. What's even the point? Still, I know I have to. I have to see Aspen for the next few hours and Juliet too. Eventually. I don't know what to say or even what I want to hear. As much as I'd just like to avoid everything and everyone, the rational part of me knows that I can't. Give it, but to pour my tears into a cup and drink it, it'll feel better. Get me some as well, maybe I'll feel better. Instead, my magic and beads force me to conform like always. Either get up or be forgotten. It's not really much of a choice. I slowly get dressed and wipe my face, which is still red from crying, when I trot downstairs to where we'd normally be having breakfast. Except it's later than usual. There's food on the table for me, but it's long since cold. I can hear the sounds of conversation and movement that mean the library's already open. Life goes on with or without me. I cram down the slice of cold toast and browning apple without really tasting them. Just knowing that I need the nourishment. When I wander up to the front of the library, where Juliet is seated on my spot at the desk. When she notices me approaching, I can see her struggling to decide how to greet me. Uncertainty pains plain in her eyes. Can't decide either, so I just settle for a stiff nod.
Hey.
Good morning, Miho.
Her voice is awkwardly stilted. Seems out of place for Juliet. I gesture to the stack of books next to her and the half-filled checkout sheet.
You can go to bed. I can take over from here.
Juliet shakes her head, looking a little more confident in the motion.
No, it's all right. You're in no state to be working today. Let me handle it instead.
Really. It's fine.
Patron starts to approach the counter, a couple of books in his hand. I start to reach for them, but Juliet stands up, blocking me off.
Good morning. All set to check out?
I let my hand fall on my side. The person checking out books looks a little confused, but settles on talking to Juliet instead of me. Fine then. If she wants to, she can do it. She has that same practiced tone of voice when it comes to helping a stranger that Aspen does. Aspen calls it her customer service voice. To me, it's the same as how I'd sound when trying to deceive someone or get something out of them. The only difference is, I'm not sure I could pull mine off now, like she can. Then again, it seems like Juliet must have always been good at hiding her feelings. Wordlessly, I turn around and step out from behind the desk, passing by the guest on my way out the door. In the corner of my eye, I can see Juliet watching me as I go, even as she deftly handles the checkout book. Fresh air is an instant relief, and I gulp as I stretch out my arms, just basking in the sun for a moment. Right, I'm gonna take a 2-second break. My voice is fucking killing me. I'm gonna get a drink and rest my voice for a couple of minutes. BRB. Okay, I've had a drink. I've rested my voice for a minute. It is already past midnight over here, so I'm not sure how much longer I can stream. But I'm getting into this. I might stream tomorrow, I need to say. The fresh air is an instant relief, and I gulp it in as I stretch out my arms, just basking in the sun for a moment. I start walking to the Bell House because I need to see Aspen before it gets too late. Fortunately, we had a late breakfast yesterday, so I have a bit more leeway than usual. I do my best to keep my head empty on the way there, because if I let myself think, it'll turn bad. So instead I just focus on putting one foot in front of the other, and on paying the minimum amount of attention to my surroundings, just enough to get me there. Aspen herself is working on the counter when I enter the cafe, and she waves eagerly when she sees me.
Oh, Miho! I was just thinking of taking my break early to come see you. Juliet said you were feeling a little under the weather this morning.
That's a bit of an understatement. I make my way up to the register, staring blankly at the menu. I could actually read some of it if I tried, but I'm not. Also, I called that like near the beginning of the game, like the very opening scene when she talks about her person. I was like, wait, wouldn't he be dead if you're centuries old? I fucking called it. Just saying.
I can see what she means. Are you alright?
I shrug.
Yeah, I'm fine. Let me get,
The name of the different drinks that I like all swirl around in my head, but somehow picking one feels like an impossible challenge. I wasn't actually planning to stay or get something to drink, I just started ordering out of habit.
whatever you recommend.
Frowning, Aspen taps something into the machine, and I reach for my wallet, but she waves my hands to stop me.
It's on me. Go sit down and I'll bring you something soon.
Thanks.
Her little baby. Leaving her to that, I trudge to a booth and sit down, resting my head on my arms and closing my eyes. I could have just come inside and left again as soon as Aspen saw me, but I know that I wouldn't have felt any better anywhere else. I know that I wouldn't feel any better anywhere else. I could choose to go. At least this way I get a free drink out of it. I don't open my eyes again until I hear the sound of Aspen setting a cup down in front of me, before taking a seat herself.
Thanks. Again.
Setting up, I have a taste of whatever it is Aspen brought me. It's scalding hot and bitter.
What's in this?
Coffee!
What else?
Espresso? You look like you need it.
Gingerly, I take another sip, bracing myself against the heat this time.
One of your recipes?
No, I don't know who invented it, but it's been my go-to for years when I need a pick-me-up. Don't you feel more awake now?
The aftertaste lingers in my mouth, but I drink some more anyway.
Unfortunately.
Then it's doing its job. You really do look a mess, though. Were you crying?
As soon as Aspen takes a second to look at my face, I see her take on the same look of concern as Juliet. I raise my cup to my lips again, just to hide myself.
Yeah?
There's an awful scraping sound as Aspen slides her chair a little closer to mine. Taking one of my hands in hers, I pull away immediately.
Sorry, I should have asked first. What's wrong? Did I do something?
Her face suddenly starts to redden, and I already know what's coming next.
It's fine.
I don't know how to respond, so instead I opt for a question that's been lingering on my mind.
Do you know who Cosette is?
Cosette? No, I don't believe I know the name. Is she a friend of yours?
No. Don't worry about it.
If Aspen doesn't know, I'm not going to be the one to tell her. Still, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that Juliet never mentioned her before, even though the two of them are supposedly close friends. As for my human, though, maybe may as well just get it out there. At least then we'll all be on the same page.
I found out my person is dead.
Although I've been sitting with that thought for hours now, it's the first time I've said the words out loud. To my own surprise, they came out as steadily as everything else. At least I don't feel like I'm going to cry.
Oh.
Finally, I glanced at Aspen herself. Just like Juliet, I can see her eyes widen and mouth drop as she tries to think of something more to say.
And you knew, didn't you?
Her hands toyed uselessly with abandoned straw wrappers on the table.
I suspected as much, yes.
I sigh, not surprised at all. I don't even have the energy to be that upset compared to when I was dealing with Juliet.
I'm sorry,
It's okay. Juliet already said it.
Well, I'm saying it too. I'm sorry. It seems you probably didn't find out in the best way. Not that there is a best way. That was why we were afraid to tell you. We didn't know how... Actually, I'm just going to stop talking.
Really? It's fine.
I cut her off flatly before she can start over apologizing. Being apologized to makes me uncomfortable, like an itch I can't scratch. Putting my chain to my hands, I look out the window to the sunny day outside. It's as nice as it ever is here.
I just wish you would have told me.
In a reflection, I see Aspen nod.
If it makes you feel any better, we were going to soon. We'd already decided, but not on how. I assume Juliet told you.
More or less, yeah. She said something that made me figure it out.
I see.
Both of them just accepted me being upset so easily. Neither of them tried to argue or anything, just apologized. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Feels like I'm not sure if Aspen's words made me feel any better or not. But also I have to ask what I'm getting out of doing this to myself, and to her, and to Aspen, sitting here silently stewing in my emotions. What felt like burning rage last night now feels less explosive. I do wish they'd been more honest with me, but they were both just trying to be nice. It's not like I haven't done the thing. It's not like I haven't done the things they were afraid of before, like running. When that's the case, is it really okay to still be upset with them? Sorting through complicated emotions is difficult. I like when things are straightforward and I know to be sad or mad or something else. Right now, seeing how sad it also makes Juliet and now Aspen doesn't make me feel any better either. And if nothing else, I should at least tell them how I feel or try to. Closing my eyes for a beat, I make my first real decision since leaving for Cosette's grave with Juliet yesterday.
Are you busy tonight? I want to talk with you and Juliet. Together.
She startles at the sound of my voice. I guess she didn't expect me to say anything else.
I'll be there. Just tell me when.
I don't know yet. I have to ask Juliet, but I'll have her let you know.
Okay, that works for me.
I stand up slowly, and Aspen does the same. I can tell from the way she's still fidgety and nervous though, that something's bothering her. The tiny paw she snaps the paper straw wrapper in half.
Can you tell me one thing though? Are you leaving?
Oh god. She's really worried about that, isn't she? I feel a bit more confident about one thing as I shake my head.
No. I won't go anywhere.
Well shit, I guess we're going here. To the Botanical Gardens. This shit's getting good. I began to the library, I made the same request to Juliet about being able to talk together. Not only did she agree, she suggested we go somewhere else, just for a change of pace. Hold on. I'm gonna sneeze. There we go. Hopefully my mic muted. And I didn't just accidentally deafen you all. We shared a quiet taxi ride to the Botanic Gardens, not far from Cosette's grave. Neither of us tried to talk, which suited me fine. I spent the whole ride trying to think about what I wanted to say. I imagine Juliet did the same thing. The taxi driver dropped us off as close to the entrance as possible, tipping his hat to thanks as Juliet pays him for driving away, leaving the two of us mostly alone. There are a few people around, but more of them are leaving than entering at this time of the evening. One of those people, a figure standing on a bench reading, a figure sitting on a bench reading, stands up and approaches us. When they step into the light, it turns out to be Aspen.
It's certainly a new feeling to be the one waiting, instead of waited for.
Hi, Aspen.
Good evening, Aspen. I hope we didn't keep you waiting for long.
No, not at all. Besides, I can hardly complain when it gives me an opportunity to catch up on some reading. I thought about exploring the gardens a little, but I wasn't sure I'd be able to find my way back out.
There are worse places to be lost, at least. Thank you for indulging my request to come here in the first place.
So which one are you going to make your anime girlfriend? Probably Aspen. Juliet just got some depth, but like, I still don't think I like her as much. I'll need to see though. I still don't think I can decide. I'm leaning towards Aspen because, first of all, look at her. What do you mean you're not surprised? Fuck you. She's adorable, look at her. Plus she's the more interesting of the two. I get Juliet's got her whole I hate my emotions behind my mask thing. But like it's just not as compelling. Anyway, this is a very dramatic scene.
It was a good idea. Not to say the library's gotten boring, but...
We never really go anywhere else?
I feel better now I feel better now than I did this morning. At least enough to make a couple jokes. A lot of things still weigh heavy on my mind, but I'm determined to not just be an emotionless rock. That wouldn't help anyone.
Precisely. I've never been here before either, so I'm eager to see the gardens.
It's been a while since I've been here myself, but I believe I remember a nice spot I used to visit with.
Instead of finishing her sentence, Juliet simply begins walking, her cane making a steady click-click sound as she taps it against the stone path. Aspen reads off some of the signs that we pass by, signs which I, of course, have never given a second glance at.
Stonebridge Gully. That sounds rather poetic. Perhaps I'll use it in a story sometime. Ah, Pine Hill Path too. Whoever named these gardens was having fun, weren't they?
Juliet still seems preoccupied, not ignoring us, but not seeming to pay much attention either. She does wait while Aspen pauses to read one of the big signs that talk about the gardens. She writes a little bit in her notebook, then scurries back to us.
Sorry, one of the photos there caught my eye and I wanted to take some notes for further research. I hadn't realised there was more to this park than just this one garden.
Really? Like what?
There's an old estate for one thing. Also another garden just for native plants. There's even a cemetery not far away that's apparently part of it.
Not a great time, Aspen. The steady rhythm of Juliet's cane misses a beat, but she keeps walking. After a short hell stroll, we reach our destination. A small brick path juts off the main road, leading to an overlook covered by a glass roof. There are a handful of benches around, but all of them are unoccupied.
Would this do?
Oh, Juliet, it's breathtaking.
I have to agree. Aspen slowly walks to the edge of the overlook and presses a hand against the glass as she looks over the view. I stand beside her and do the same. We're higher up than I thought, with a good view of the rest of the Botanic Garden from here. I even spot the main gate far across. The same rolling green hills that I noticed a couple days ago tower over us. Though she smiles, Juliet doesn't join us, instead sitting down on one of the benches.
What do you think, Miho? How does it compare to some of the sights you've seen?
It's pretty nice. I like the view from up on Mount Victoria better, though.
Oh, it's been quite a while since I went up there. Perhaps I should see it myself sometime and compare.
You should. You can see the library from the top. I used to go up there to clear my head, before I started living at the library.
I'll be sure to invite you along, then.
She lingers for just a moment more, gazing out at the darkening sky before taking a seat on the bench across from Juliet. Only I stay standing, pacing back and forth. Despite the pleasant chatter just a moment ago, now that we're all here and settled, both Juliet and Aspen sit quietly but expectantly, waiting for me to speak first. Since I was the one who asked him to come here, it falls to me to start the conversation, but where to even begin? I've been thinking about that all day, and I've stated that maybe I should just start at the beginning, the very beginning.
I never told you anything about my person, right? About Changin.
Went to bed. Aspen's like, night, Peony. I'll update you on the plot tomorrow. They both shake their heads. Taking a deep breath and clearing my throat, I close my eyes and cast my mind back to the forest all those years ago.
I was just a regular fox back then. I don't know how old I was. Foxes don't think like that. All we know about is eating snacks and lying in the sun. That was all I really did all day long. No hobbies or jobs or responsibilities. Just existing. I knew what humans were in the same way I knew what leopards and bears were. Big and scary and something to avoid. It was rare to see one in the forest, but it happened. Most of the time, they were noisy enough that you could hear them coming from far away and hide. That was the first thing that was different about my person, Chongin. I was taking a nap in one of my favorite spots, an old log that had fallen over. Chongin came all the way over and sat down before they woke me up. And when they did, I panicked. I ran and hid as fast as I could. I think they were surprised too. They didn't try to catch me or stop me. Instead, they kept their distance and tossed me a little bit of the meat they were eating. I didn't trust them and didn't know why they were sharing, but it smelled pretty good. So I grabbed the food and ran away, and eventually they left. When I went back to my log the next day, Chongin showed up again too. I ran away again, but they still didn't chase me and let me come back on my own. We did the same thing the next day, and the next day, and the next. Then, one day, I was in a new part of the forest. I liked wandering around even as a fox. I wasn't paying attention to where I was going, when suddenly, it felt like my leg was on fire. I didn't know what it was at the time, but I'd walked right into a trap that a hunter left. I couldn't move as much as I tried, and it's still the scariest thing that ever happened to me. I was sure I was gonna die. Finally, Chongin showed up. At first, I thought they were there to finish me off. Instead, they were worried for me. They knelt down and got my foot out of the trap, and then wrapped it with a part of their shirt to stop it from bleeding. That was when I finally figured out they weren't going to hurt me. I kept going to the grove to see them, and they kept being there. I let them get close enough to touch me after that. Still, they didn't do it much. It was only to check on my leg and make sure it was healing okay. One day I went, and they were waiting like always, but they brought a lot more food than usual. And they gave it all to me, hardly eating anything themselves. After I was finished, we sat together for a while. They sat on my log, and I laid in the grass nearby. Finally, they got up like usual and set two things on the ground. One was a bag of food, the same as they had just given me. The other was a little paper scroll. They patted me on the head for the first and only time. Then, they left our grove. At the time, I didn't think that day was anything special, other than the extra snacks. But it was the last time I'd ever see them. When I came back the next day, they weren't there. I waited, just in case they were late, but they never showed up. The scroll they left and some of the food were still there. Other animals had taken a lot of the food, but they didn't want the paper. I took the scroll with me when I left. I didn't know what it was, but it was theirs, so it had to be important. My only option was to carry it in my mouth. I went back again the next day, expecting them to show up, but they never did. I don't know how many more days it took before I realized they weren't coming back. Once I did, it was all I could think about. I kept looking for them, but I couldn't find them, as much as I wanted to. I didn't even know why I wanted to see them so badly. Just that I did. While I was thinking about that, I started to choke. Something came out of nowhere and was stuck in my throat. Finally, I coughed it up. A bead. I'd never seen it before, and definitely never swallowed it. I left it and went back to my den, but it was waiting for me there too. No matter where I went, it was always waiting. So finally, I touched it with my nose. Everything after that happened so fast. 1 second I was there, just a normal fox, the next, I was in this new form, not sure how or why. Some things came to me naturally, like using my new body and walking on 2 feet, and even how to turn back into a fox. But I still thought like an animal and acted like one. I didn't know any words that I could even think with. I had to learn those, and all kinds of other human behaviors the hard way, after getting chased away from villages and strangers that I met. Over time, I learned how to hide and blend in, and steal, and just how to survive. I followed Jungin's scent all the way to the ocean. I'd never seen so much water, not even close. I had no idea how huge it was. I boarded a ship like Jungin had, not knowing that it would take me somewhere different than the one they took. And I've been looking for them ever since.
I open my eyes again. They're heavy with tears. But this time I don't try to hide them. I didn't mean to talk for so long, but once I started remembering, everything else just came naturally. Turning to face Aspen and Juliet, I see they're crying too.
Oh, Miho. They sound like they were a wonderful person.
I can see why you never stopped searching for them. They were truly special, weren't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they really were.
Remembering how their hand felt on my head, and the softness of their touch as they inspected my leg, those thoughts hurt as much as the hunter's trap did, but also they made me smile too. I've often worried that they might have forgotten me, but I don't think they did. They only knew me as a fox before I had any magic, so their memories must have stayed intact. Those days weren't long, but they were special to me, and I hope to Jungin too, and so I don't want to let them become painful memories. I want to smile when I think about them.
Anyway, I'm sorry for getting so mad at you yesterday, Juliet. And for how I acted this morning with you, Aspen. I know that you both just wanted to keep me from getting hurt. But that's another thing, too. It feels like you're always looking after me, or taking care of me. There are lots of things I'm still learning, but I'm not weak. I've taken care of myself for a long time, you know. So, I don't want it to be like that anymore. I want you to be honest with me from now on, both of you. Even if it's something that would make me sad or angry. I promise that I won't run away without saying anything. I won't just disappear no matter what happens. Because if we're really friends, then we should trust each other, right? That's one of the things I've learned.
Having said everything I wanted to, I finally sat down, taking a spot between the two of them, just like at breakfast every morning. For a second, the three of us sat there quietly, and Juliet begins to speak.
I hear what you say, Miho. And I agree. You're not the only one still learning things, you know? I have a long way to go too. For years, I felt it for the best to remain open, but guarded. If I maintained a comfortable distance, even from those I call my dearest friends, then I would be protecting myself. By never getting to know anyone too well, by withholding any meaningful details of my life, I thought to avoid the pain of loss again. But all I've done is keep myself from experiencing that joy of companionship again, while even causing hurt to others. I'm not too experienced when it comes to being honest to myself. Or perhaps only honest to a point. But you're right, Miho. That isn't how it should be. From here on out, I'll endeavor to be more open, more real, with both of you. For myself, and for you.
Let's go. Juliet looks in our direction, but in particular at Aspen right now.
As such, Aspen, there's something that I'd like to tell you.
She begins telling Aspen about Cosette, in much the same way she told me yesterday. I sit quietly and think about what she said. Hearing Juliet describe herself reminds me of me. In the end, we've always been running away, haven't we? It's about how perfect and put together Juliet always seemed. She's actually been struggling just as much. She was just better at hiding it than me. As Juliet recounts the vows she made in honour of Cosette, I see Aspen as listening with rapt attention, like when she gets absorbed in one of her books. When Juliet finishes her story, both of them have to wipe their eyes. Aspen rummages around in her bag and pulls out a small packet of tissues, offering one to Juliet before noisily blowing her nose and wiping her eyes.
God, that's certainly a lot to take in. Thank you for telling me, though. Cosette sounds like she was a wonderful person, just like Johnine. I wish I could have met her.
I wish you could have as well. She would have had endless stories to recount, and I know she would have loved to share them.
As for all the other stuff, first of all, I promise, to both of you, I want us to be truly friends as well. I don't have anything quite so dramatic in my past, but I certainly know how it feels to be performative. I can hardly fault you for curating your self-image when I do the same thing. It's kind of funny, actually, and a little scary to hear you talk about Cosette and Zhongyin, because as someone who will one day be past tense, I often wonder about how I'll be remembered when I'm gone. Not that I expect that to be any time soon, but still, I hope that someone speaks of me just as fondly someday. There will be more than enough time for me to worry about that in the future, though. Right now, I'm glad we had this conversation. It was worth the near panic attack I had earlier, wondering what would be said tonight.
Me too. I still have a lot to think about, and I'm still sad. But I don't want to be sad forever. I know it's not what they would have wanted for me either. But I do know that I'm lucky I met you two, and that you're my friends. I wanted to say like that.
My cheeks burn from saying something like that out loud. For the first time ever, but I liked saying it because it's true. Although I've already made up my mind to stay, it's sitting here in the middle of the garden that I know I made the right decision. For all the doubts I had, all the struggles, I'm thankful that it happened, and that I can finally admit it to myself. Maybe it won't turn out the way I expected, but for once, I'm content with my life right now.
Well said. And don't worry, Miho. We're not going anywhere.
Even if that's not always perfect, it doesn't need to be, just like Juliet.
Oh, Miho, I'm glad too. The first time you stepped into the Bell House was one of the luckiest days of my life.
All I have to do is keep trying, like Aspen. So maybe another first time would be appropriate. Hopping up from the bench, I grab Aspen's hand and Juliet's hand and pull them to their feet too. Oh, God damn it! Oh. Then spreading my arms as wide as I can, I pull them both into a hug. Without hesitation, I feel them embrace me in return. From that first day at the cafe all the way to now. It's chilly out here in the garden and the cool evening air, but it's warm in Aspen and Juliet's arms, and I smile to myself, and to them, and to anyone who may be watching.
Mine too.
I was spending a little bit more time walking around the gardens. Last night, Juliet and I went back to the library, and Aspen took a bus back to her apartment. Once we got back, I fell asleep almost immediately, my brain finally getting some relief from all the emotions of the last few days. And with that adorable fucking conclusion to that small arc, I shall end the stream here. I'll probably return to this maybe tomorrow, no promises. But I shall certainly try. But yeah, people actually showed up to the stream today, so thanks. If you're watching the VOD, either on Twitch or on my channel, thanks. This game's adorable. The lesbians. Anyway, bye.